Design thinking. Design thinking has been popularized by Ferris via his research paper in Harvard Business Review somewhere in 2008 or 2009. These are the key steps which you need to follow when you are to apply design thinking. Empathize about the customer, his situation. So empathy is very important. Sometimes your customer is asking for a new functionality, a new feature. So do we empathize with him? Do we relate with his requirement? Or we act a bit distant and we think that whatever we have given is good enough for the money, is good enough for the experience. I will share with you my experience. Sometimes I hold webinars, and these are free webinars. So many professionals from industry come and attend the webinar. The value for them is to learn about a new discipline or a new topic, whatever is being discussed. The value for me as a trainer is the fact that I get introduced to them. So if someone attends a 1 hour class, so there is a trust and communication. If the two parties are to communicate, they can communicate easily at a later stage and a later date if some transaction has to happen, or what we call in product management terms, value exchange has to happen. So that value exchange may be signing up for my program. So while I conduct the webinar, so now I'll tell you the situation where I feel I should be a bit more empathetic. When I conduct the webinar, many students, or I shall not say many, a few students are quite inquisitive or are quite focused on, say, for example, their questions might be like this: when we will get the recording? Will we get the presentation or not? Do we get the certificate? And so many other questions. Every webinar will throw up some new questions. Will we get the, let's say I am discussing some document, will we get the template? Can you provide us a real document? So much so, a few individuals, they have a volley of requirements. So not one or two, maybe 8, 10 or 12. So at times, as a trainer, I feel a bit irritated, but all within myself. I must be honest, because even though I'm a trainer, I have a product to sell. In a sense that I think that, look, something important is being discussed, but instead of what is getting discussed, these individuals are more focused on something which has not been publicized from my side, that I'm going to share that, or something which is less important. But here, while these thoughts come to my mind, as a product leader, I think, and I must honestly confess, that I lack some empathy. Because every requirement which is coming from the client, today we are living in the day and age, the clients want everything, and it is better to give them everything, whatever they ask upfront. Otherwise, you will just lose time and you will lose developing your product. In any case, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, or 2, 3, 4 months down the line, you have to provide those features and functionalities what clients are asking for, especially in the digital world, or give everything. So, but how can we get into that situation? We can get into that situation only when we have empathy towards our client or the prospective client, that, look, if he's asking for something, I should not feel that he isn't concentrating on the lecture or the webinar, and he is more interested in say getting a video recording or getting a presentation. But that's not a good approach. Is to understand, have an empathy with the customer, think from his point of view. Maybe every individual is different. Maybe this particular person has got limited ability to understand the language in which we communicate, say English. Maybe I have an accent which he is not able to follow. As Indians, we also have our own peculiar accent. So there can be so many situations which we are not able to comprehend. So we need to have empathy. If someone is asking for it, we should try to deliver that. So this is empathy. If client is asking something, if there is a feedback, try to see what could have been the situation. Then you need to define or articulate the problem, get the stakeholder consensus. So empathy is the first step. Second step is similar to the problem definition or problem articulation, which we learned in the problem solving method. Third step is to ideate, come up with a solution, come up with do a brainstorming, generate ideas, reduce those ideas. And as product managers, I will suggest each of you to learn a bit more on brainstorming skills. Brainstorming sessions will happen more often than you may guess in your real environment. And when we conduct a brainstorming session, there are certain do's and don'ts which you need to follow. And not only you yourself need to follow, you need to ensure the team together is able to conduct these sessions better. So if you apprise everyone what are the do's and don'ts for the brainstorming method, I think you will do a great favor to your product and get favor to your team. So the third, empathize, define, ideate. So we will brainstorm, we will come up with solution. The next two steps are something which we need to understand for design thinking. Design thinking says we need to come up with prototypes instead of waiting for full solutions. We need to come up with paper prototypes, working prototypes, maybe even wireframes, maybe even prototypes as we call them in software, which are interactive. And we need to test and implement them quickly. As we test and implement them, we should be able to take a quick decision. And either we move ahead with the solution or we reject it. So this is design thinking. And while we do design thinking, it has been seen that we are able to fail fast, test quick, and come up with solutions which are more comprehensive in nature. So remember these steps: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. If you wish to learn a bit more on design thinking, which will help, you can read the original research paper by Ferris. You may even start with Wikipedia, what is available on design thinking in Wikipedia. So empathy is important. Definition and ideation is common with so many other problem solving methods. Prototyping, wireframing, mockups is something which we in any case are very familiar with. So we aren't going to forget this step. The testing step, the recommendation for this step is we should test early, we should test often, and we should try more solutions if one solution doesn't work. So this is design thinking, and so many product teams utilize design thinking.